We gotta find. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. Now what do we do? That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. That's the first clue. We gotta find. That's the first clue. That's the first clue.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Oh, man, good day so far today. We're already to the weekend. I always love this time because I can stream back to back and get things done. Got interesting stuff to bring up today. I was thinking we were going to go through, go through some of the backlog of stuff. Let me just pick up all the shit I just dropped. go through some of the backlogs of the stuff, get into, like, I'm really liking getting into the disturbing games. I think that's going to become a normal part of my future content, because I just like finding weird stuff like that, and other things, weird people, weird things, stuff in gaming. I want to start really finding some of that, like kind of dipping into some of these online spaces where there are people like what Not Malcolm was talking about, the YouTubers in the cozy community and some of the drama amongst the other stuff. So I'm see if I can't find some contacts to kind of get in, learn about it, and see what I can find. See if I can adjust my content a little bit. But today we're gonna be going after, well, the main content is we're going to be going after a woman. What can I say? It's my MO. We all know how I feel about women. And if you don't, you probably don't want to know. It's a joke. It's a joke. I love women. I'm happily married. And it's obviously a lie, because I'm a white knight for she who shall not be named. But anyways, we are going to be getting into it today. And of course, the game is not up. Let's get the game up here. I moved a little bit this morning. We're going to be... Come on now. I moved a little bit this morning. I had to read some things, because when I try and make a jump anywhere, when I grab jump to the next spot, I can only go ever like a couple tiles, right? And it's like it's limiting me to about 400 chem fuel, which my ship has way more chem fuel than that. Like, I have this one's 750. You know, even right now, after doing a jump, I've got 1100 yes. But then I figured it out. I looked it up, and apparently what you need to do is to build the next engines. Where are they? Engines. You need vac stone to do it. And I was like, okay, how do I get vac stone if I can only fly, so far? And I've had a lot of trouble getting into space. Like, because you come here and it's like my flight pattern will be over here, but I'm always too far to fly to this. I found out what you have to do is you have to get under it, and then there's really no distance into space. It's just chem fuel usage. So you get to one of these, you start mining it for stone. This also has compacted machinery. And then you can build the better engines, have more engines on your ship, and start really flying around and poisoning the world, as we are doing with this run. So far, everyone's super happy. My Brumbles just got a superpower where she can make people happy. So my slave, that we were having problems with, is now super happy, because one, we converted him to our religion, so he wouldn't be mad about his Xenos being the wrong Xenos. We don't care what Xenos you are here, as long as you become a machine. So I have some plans for the slaves. Give them some machine hands for like mining and some other things. I just got access to what are they called? Brain wiring, joy wires, which add 30 to their happiness, their mood. So we may have a bunch of really happy slaves here soon. Once the ship gets bigger and I can start storing them, may start a little like slave compound down here, and then build up some more storage, because that's what we're holding on. But for the beginning, before we start Before we start going after a woman, before we start with that, a documentary came out about one of my favorite YouTubers. He's just a man that I've communicated with a lot. I'm happy for him in my life, and someone has put together a little short 6-minute documentary on him. It's a brand new account. And he even reached out to me after I started talking and said he wanted to see if I'd watch his video. Kind of acted like he might have known me. So I don't know if he's someone that I already know and it's a alt account, but we're gonna watch this and see where it takes us here. It's about our friend 8-Bit Eric. And Sa, I don't know how you would pronounce that. San Antonio is the one who made it. I saw it because 8-Bit made a comment about it, but it's the go away heat of 8-Bit Eric. And it's got a lot of stuff in here. The description says 8-Bit Eric is a right-wing grifter. Right-wing grifting YouTube, making his name off the Smash JT while drinking $6 vodka and $1.99 Tallboy cans of adjutant lagers. I haven't had an adjutant lager. I have had cans of $1.99. All content in this video is opinions, so we're gonna watch this, get a good little start out, get some 8-Bit Eric content, and go from there. I know him and Review Tech USA have been going at it, so it's like two lolcows slapping each other right now. And I mean, of course, Smash is doubling in on that. He's got to protect his buddy, so maybe we'll look a little bit more into that drama. I really haven't cared too much about it. It hasn't interested me, but let's watch this, see where it takes us while we get ready to go into outer space. Harassment CT and pants pissing. I love it. Is that DSP?
I'm pissed. Were you guys in here when I got my fucking alcohol confiscated? I almost knocked the motherfucker out. Were y'all in here?
Hold on. Let me. So drunk he gets angry at his roommate.
Here when I got my fucking alcohol confiscated, I almost knocked the motherfucker out. Were y'all in here when I got my I almost knocked.
Is his elderly father a veteran?
The motherfucker out.
Eric does Eric live rent free with his father? Okay. Okay. You know, he's talked. We actually had a conversation. I think I'm going to ego press myself a little bit. He tried to come at me. We were talking about something. It had to do some political take that he had that evolved around, I guess, some military or, oh no, it was joining ICE and all of that shit, which I don't know how him using his military father had anything to do with it. And he tried to come at me and say, well, my father was a Vietnam veteran. And I'm like, okay, that's great. I was, I'm a veteran of the U.S. Army, 19 years. My dad's a veteran of the U.S. Navy, 20 years. My grandfather was in the National Guard just like me, working as a medic for a tank company for 20 plus years. My wife's a Marine. Her father was in the Navy for 20 years. I was like, you're not throwing military weight around for me for a federal group that is not and should not be military, right? He didn't say anything to me after that, but I didn't know he was living with his father. So maybe his father needs help. So I'm not gonna say anything about that just yet.
Out. Were y'all in here when I got my alcohol confiscated? I can't believe they fucking knew how to play it off. without getting seen.
Blake, what is going on? Welcome to the stream. Always a pleasure to have you on every time. Every time. Watching 8-Bit Eric, stuff like this. Now, one thing I am going to say, I've been joking around with Eric for the last few weeks because Damage Sector brought up a drunk stream idea with me and a bunch of me, McDizzle, what is it? Smash JT and a bunch of those others. Of course, they're going to say no. So I've been throwing it at Eric for quite a couple days. But in reality, I don't think I would ever do a drunk stream. I also don't really drink that much anymore. I did a lot of drinking in the military. I did a lot of drinking after coming back from my last deployment. I had to come to the conclusion, I can't keep drinking or it's going to become a habit. It is the number one medicine for military, so you have to kind of watch out for it. But even then, drunk streams are just there's so much that can go wrong with them, right?
They did it good.
Imagine living with this 5-6 slop streaming until 6 a.m., drinking cheap beer, vodka, and talking about Becky Bop's breasts and Alyssa Mercante. Who is Becky Bops?
Good. Wow. They knew how to fucking do it.
Meanwhile, in the next room.
Oh, fuck you.
Oh, is that Cobra? Oh, man. Rest in peace, brother.
Check her out. They knew how to come in and get the alcohol and take it away without getting fucking...
One of the lolcow queens, I think. Oh, okay. Oh. Only interaction I've had with anyone close to lolcow has been Lynx, and I don't even know if she's still with them anymore.
Wow. I'm fucking pissed.
8 Freaks Eric, that's right, Kamoji.
Who doesn't like boobs, right?
You know, there's a Denny's.
Rest in peace, Josh, by the way. At least he put the rest in peace there, man. Out of all the lolcows to pass away, I think Cobra was the one people wanted to pass away the least, right?
A mile away from me.
I would like to try to give it one more shot, maybe even, because I've done house shows with WWE. I've done stuff as an extra where they take local guys and have them be like EMTs or...
Oh, shit. So hold on. He doesn't teach boxing. He teaches like WWE style wrestling. Okay, that changes kind of my view on it.
You know, fans in the audience. I've done stuff like that, but I would like to have maybe a dark match eventually or a tryout. And if that doesn't happen, I would say probably in about 5 years, maybe.
5 years later.
What's up, Juicy Booch? Where's the stealth at, Juicy Booch?
I thought he was teaching kids to box. Hola, I'm more curious about Nuhre. We're going to go over Nuhre. She's been crashing out over the blood, the Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines too. But it's not like, I don't think the game's going to be good, right? I believe in her in that side. But she has this thing where she keeps she tried to dip out of the anti-woke stuff, but now I can see her dipping in every now and again just to mention VeilGuard. She keeps bringing up VeilGuard yeah, that'll get me views. Which I'm going to have to look at her channel and see if it does more so than her other stuff, but it's just, I don't know. I think it's so far from what I've read and looked at, it's bad.
You give stealth to RTU streams. Where's the stealth at here? You can't at least give me $5.
Wait, Phil, are you talking about he's begging money from DSP? DSP is Phil, isn't he? Who is Phil?
That here. You can't at least give me $5.
Yeah, about
$100
15
goal.
minutes.
I'd rub this on my ball sack. $100 goal. No fucking.
This is another thing you're never going to see me do. I'm sorry. I am not going to fucking demean myself. Phil DSP. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, right? Because that's the only Phil I know that he interacts with. Like I'm never going to degrade myself for you guys. I'm sorry. That's just not going to happen for no amount of money.
Nuts. Let's do it. This was real baby oil.
Jesus Christ. Damaged. I need you. Damaged Sector. Someone get a hold of Damaged Sector and tell him to start clipping.
All right. So yeah. I am.
The only degrading allowed is the Miss Piggy VTuber avatar. Oh man. Well, I mean, if I hear only the female VTubers are successful, so I guess I gotta change my avatar a bit.
I am having fun for the price. I mean,
Is that Takavaka?
I'm fucking hammered on a Saturday night. I'm playing.
Dude, I used to, that was like broke people alcohol. When I was broke, had no money, it was just me living with my friends. We went and got like a big old bottle of Takavaka because you could get like a gallon of that stuff for like $10.
Fucking kids game. Oh my god.
This dude is playing kids games. I hope you're not playing Dress to Impress. Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, that one got me. Good job, SA.
Why am I fucking putting so much in my fucking drink?
That's not the... SA, I need you to get your voice on here, or even maybe a Slop AI voice. That's not the viewer's response. Oh, it's your dad.
It is time for some more Roblox action, baby. I just absolutely love me some Roblox. I am drowning in them Robux. The Benjamin Joe. If this is your first time coming to the channel, why don't you go ahead and help a brother.
Rev Des says Desu got some clout, mostly for being the Lolicon Defense Force, and they're Nux. But that's a Nux said. They still are nothing compared to their female counterparts. Yeah, fair enough.
Can't you guys tell me stop?
Oh, okay. To be fair, he's drunk, so it may be getting real. But if you're wanting your audience to get you to stop doing degenerate shit, we watched how that goes on Kick at least.
Hey, make sure you're subscribed. God damn it! I lost.
He says he's a former alcoholic. What? I'm saying this is a former
make sure you're
alcoholic.
subscribed. God damn it! I lost like 70 subscribers. He's opening the fucking.
Oh God, I lost 70 subscribers. Should you really be talking about your loss of subscribers?
Beer. He's opening the beer, guys. He's a fucking drunk. All these fucking Aspergers. Alyssa, if you're here.
I'm no fan of Alyssa Mercante.
Alyssa, if you're here. Alyssa Mercante, 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 Alyssa Mercante. Alyssa Mercante, 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 Vigilantes. If you Google me, did you not see the videos where I identified as bi?
What? What did he just say?
So are you hating me? That's what I want to know.
Oh. Oh no, I have to research this one. Oh no. Let's see. He loves pizza and oh my god, Streamerpedia. Let's see here. American. Eric wrestles under the name Joey Specter and has appeared on various independent wrestling. Why have I never looked this up? It doesn't say anything here, but I'll question him on it later. Let's go.
Now, I'm just because I identify as bi doesn't mean I'm gonna suck a cock or let somebody put their dick in me. I'm saying that I'm doing the fucking. I'm being honest. I'm doing the fucking.
Okay, I don't care that he says that when he's teaching kids.
I'm just fucking saying. You know,
I'm sorry, you don't look like a power
putting
top.
something in my butt. I'm doing the fucking. All right, shut the fuck up. I'm fucking you. Any of you guys in this chat want to know what's up? I'm fucking you. All right. Wow, I haven't even taken a sip out of this fucking beer yet. I want to know if that's the. Alyssa, can you please message me if that's you? So you can say that I'm Ugo's locale. She's been on there a lot lately. Check her out.
Somali Justice from Brock.
Who doesn't like boobs, right?
So if he's bi, is he also a chaser? Like, because I mean, if it's a possibility, we'll have to ask him.
I mean, I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. Am I? Guys, am I wrong?
Oh.
Is it? Alyssa, are you still here?
I sucked Boogie's nipple. I sucked Boogie's nipple.
This dude likes to take his shirt off a lot.
Boogie's nipple. I sucked Boogie's nipple. I sucked Boogie's nipple. I sucked Boogie's nipple. I sucked Boogie's sucked. I sucked Boogie's nipple. 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 I sucked Boogie's nipple.
I'm planning on a part 2 dealing with his lol suit and allegations. Hold on. What? Joey Specter, pull your speak out. Joey Specter is a wrestling / booker for Austin Wrestling Revolutions and reviews video games as I don't know that you would say reviews. Joey is also an opportunistic sexual predator that groomed and abused a teenager when he was in his mid-20s. Do what? That is a lot to put out. Blue. 17. X. Whoops, let's not do that. X. 17. This one's only got a small amount. Alberto, alleged sex predator. This I'm going to have to look over. Okay, yeah, I'm not reading into all of this, but I am at least going to go. So I can't say anything about this just based off of what that very small piece of information.
I got up to go pee and I didn't shake it enough, and I was sitting in my underwear. Alyssa Mercante.
All right, that's a fun little video. I don't know that I like all the reading I had to do with it, but essay, I'm looking forward to the next one. And if you're going to come up with those allegations, I need to see some strong proof, but I'll be looking into that a little bit here. Bum, bum, bum. So now let's get into the meat with that little funny opener. I may take that too and clip a lot of those times he says Alyssa Mercante out. No, well, that got dark fast. I know right at the end he dropped like the worst the worst bomb at the end that you like immediately want to know more about. But I guess that's what happens, man. Oh, excuse me. Let's move on though. So if you haven't noticed, or you weren't here last time, good old Nuhre has been crashing out over the Bloodborne, calling it the next VeilGuard, which is the only game she ever references. Your recommendations is all slop, laughing my ass. What do you mean my recommendations are all slop? Probably. That is probably true. I watch a lot of slop. I mean, the pig persona fits. But anyway, Nuhre's been crashing out over the Bloodlines too. The one thing I can say here is I don't think she's wrong that the game's going to be bad or not do well. It's definitely not going to perform well amongst the small amount of fans that played the first one, right? The cult classic that it became. So I missed this video yesterday. She did this one 2 days ago. So I should have found this yesterday so we could have watched it on stream. She has another one of her talking about it on her stream. I'm hoping these are just clips from that and I don't have to go through it. I also wanted to watch a little bit of the gameplay. I found the Rad Brad did like a playthrough. It's a 2-hour stream clip, but we'll at least watch some of it. Before we start going into some of the more sloppy content that we have, some of the more interesting stuff, or some of the more, I guess, normal stuff that you find on this chat. So let's watch Nuhre here crash out a little bit.
Unfortunately for all of you, I am back again with my bullshit. When I watched the Gamescom yesterday, and I saw Bloodlines, and it's finally being released. It's being released on October. I was like, okay, I've been kind of keeping an eye on it since the beginning. And then we started getting bits and pieces of like what the story could be like. And
so the beginning would have been 7 years ago when it got canned and then was given to the company that's making it now, Chinese, whatever their name is, that made the Wakes the Deep.
And what the characters are going to be like and what the gameplay is going to be like. And I wasn't sold because it was very much given VeilGuard in the worst sense. And by that, I mean, it was given taking a setting that is very particular, very unique, and, very beloved. I don't know if most of you even know what Vampire Bloodlines is, but I do know. But it's one of the funniest.
Well, that kind of goes against the idea of very beloved, right? It was a cult classic. It did. VeilGuard is her Concord. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Well, I mean, that's what got her initial numbers, right? That's what boosted her in the algorithm. But like Bloodlines, the first one, was not like a breakout success. This isn't a game that was made a lot of money. It sold under 80,000 copies when it came out. The company 3 or 4 months later shut down. That's how bad the game did. It wasn't till later on in the 2000s that it kind of became this cult classic that we know of today, that has been, you know, that people have wanted to play. And I mean, I think a lot of it is the hype being spread by people who played the game in the past. So, you know, I don't know how much of an audience there already was for Vampire the Masquerade. I think they're trying to feed off of what happened with Dungeons and Dragons, where Baldur's Gate 3 was coming out. Dungeons and Dragons is a phenom when it comes to tabletop role-playing game. So it was, you know, 7 years ago they were trying to revive it, but they still wanted to revive it again, hoping for some of that, you know, sweet tabletop players to come in.
Most entertaining games, like RPGs. Let's be very, very concise here, because you guys know that's my niche, okay? That's my autistic thing. It's RPGs. It's a RPG, and it's one of the most engaging, interesting role-playing experiences of my entire life. It was very fun, and I've played it multiple times. Is it old as dirt? Yes. Do you need to mod it for it to like be playable? Yes, but it's over 20 years old at this point, so obviously chill the fuck out. And this one is supposed to be a sequel 20 years later. Does that remind you of something? Wow, a game that was a very good RPG back in its heyday, and people love it, and it's a really good, you know, example of what an RPG is like. And
Already, it was a cult classic. Not everybody loved it. Most people didn't even buy it because it was a janky fucking mess. It had a cult classic following that gathered around it, but generally, like, becoming a cult classic doesn't even mean it becomes like necessarily widespread. People just start to know what it is. I'm non-binary, asexual, anaerobic, pansexual, gender non-conforming, queer, gender fluid, and autistic, and I thought VeilGuard sucked. I mean, it was bad all around. It was just the modern speak, I think, is what got to me, and the stuff that was just completely pulled you out of the story is what completely got me out of it too. And I mean, it wasn't Dragon Age, but Vampire the Masquerade, no matter what they do with this, like, they would have to do some pretty egregious shit for me to compare it to Dragon Age, right? It's not the comparison from Dragon Age Origins to VeilGuard was a slow process. Well, actually, it was Origins was good. I hated 2. 2 sucked. The story was good, but 2 sucked. Was Inquisition next? It was Inquisition, which I didn't mind. Inquisition, it had its problems. And then VeilGuard. And VeilGuard was just like, it was a complete 180, but we're not talking like Dragon Age wasn't a cult classic. Dragon Age was just a good RPG that made money from a company that was well known for making stories that were good, right?
What people want RPGs to be like. And then 10, 15, 20 years later, they pick it back up, and instead of, you know, doing a remaster of the original one and easing people back into what the game, the IP is all about, they just drop a sequel on you, okay? And you look at the sequel, and you see...
So even this is wrong. Like, even this is wrong. Trying to blame the failure of VeilGuard on us, and I'm like, no, you. Well, it's the people who wrote it, right? That's all you can go for. There was controversy from the very beginning of VeilGuard. And VeilGuard wasn't announced recently. It was announced almost right after Inquisition. It was known as Dreadwolf. That was the whole idea behind it. But back then, you had the lead artist, because the girl, the lady who became the like head person for VeilGuard, wasn't even in the company, or she was very low in the company at that time, right? So in Dreadwolf, you already had like the lead artist at that time basically saying he was trying to going to try and push as many politics into the game as he humanly could. Like if it was up to him, he would force as much modern politics as in there as you can, which might not be a bad thing. Like Dragon Age was all about, like, there was a lot of political themes. There was a lot of themes of racism, bigotry. It's never shied away. Even when it came to number 2, you had people coming in from another nations and the tensions between them as being different and odd. And it's just, it wasn't the same. It's not the same thing as what's happening. They're not revitalizing, like they weren't revitalizing Origins. VeilGuard was something that has been in development hell since 2014, before it came out. So no, it's not. This is more like, I think it was Retro who came in there and said it's more like Deus Ex, where they took a game that was a cult classic, they tried to bring it to a more normal audience, but they got rid of a lot of the stuff that made it the cult classic that it was, because honestly it wouldn't have sold the game, and it just focused on the combat and the other mechanics and less on the RPG.
Absolutely nothing of what you enjoyed in the original IP, in the original game. I was kind of willing to overlook some of the initial glaring red flags that I saw, because again, and I know people don't believe me when I say this, when I tell you I genuinely want RPGs and sequels of games that I enjoyed back in, their time to be good. I want this game to be good. I wanted VeilGuard to be good. But as someone that is incredibly obsessive about my RPGs, and when I like an RPG, I play it 3,000 times, and I know it, inside out. When I see a sequel and it sparks nothing, it sparks no joy, and I have to actually manipulate myself into being, okay, chill, don't jump the gun, give it a chance, give it a go, then you know that we're off to a rocky fucking start. That was this game. I was like, okay, it's looking very Dishonored, which is something that I said with VeilGuard, looking very cartoonish, very Dishonored, very...
Did VeilGuard look Dishonored? No, I mean, all right, We'll watch the video, but I want to remember that note of like Dishonored type stuff, because I don't think even from the clips that I've watched it's Dishonored, and even then VeilGuard looked like Fortnite. Yeah, it did, with incredibly terrible mechanics on just about everything that was in the game, right? They completely abandoned the original RPG mechanics for some of the easy stuff you see in video games, like the weapons mechanics, where you're just constantly finding new weapons with stats. Huh? No, it's fine. Sorry, the wife was asking me if she was gonna turn on the dryer, but y'all usually can't hear it when it goes on. So, if y'all can hear it, just let me know. I'll go shut it off and then turn it back on when I leave. Mwah, love you, babe. From what I've seen, I don't know that I give it Dishonored. VeilGuard was nowhere near Dishonored, right? And if this game was going for a Dishonored type thing, I don't think that's necessarily a bad. Like, you had the stealth, you had the peaceful, you had stuff like that. That's the kind of choice I would want in a game like Vampire the Masquerade. Now, what I would like added to it is a deep, like, speech mechanic, like the dialogue should be branching with lots of paths to change the game, to really give you that feel that you are making a difference, because some of the classes or some of the clans are just better at talking and manipulating people, right? A completely peaceful mission run for the most part as a like Malkavian would be great.
Very action RPG, action, capital letters, RPG, tiny on the corner, the more stuff started to come out. For example, this tweet that made me crash out, you will look at this and you're like, okay, standard edition, deluxe edition, premium edition. Yeah, Ada, this is industry standard. Why are you freaking out about this? I am freaking out about this because one of the main selling points of Bloodlines was that it was incredibly RPG because each background, each clan basically made you play the game in a completely different way. And that's why a game like Dragon Age Origins and a game like Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, the first one, had such replayability, because every time that you picked a different clan, it was a completely different experience. Like the world reacted to you in complete different ways. And if you look here, okay, first of all, pre-order now and get a nostalgia jukebox. That would make me just crash out by itself. Stop trying to use nostalgia as a weapon against me, because I will end it all. So you have the base game, right? You have the base game and you don't have anything fancy. You have the game. You pay for the game, you have the game, or so you would think. And this pisses me off because it says, get the full experience. I am paying for what I think it's the full experience. But wait. If you pay for the standard edition, you get the base game. If you pay for the deluxe edition, you get a stop. Like the stop sign is nostalgia bait, by the way. If you guys haven't played Bloodlines, you don't know. And you know what pisses me the fuck off about the stop sign? The stop sign, I told you, if you play Bloodlines and you play as different clans, the world itself reacts to you differently. And if you play as this one clan called the Malkavians, they're crazy, okay? The Malkavians, their psyche is destroyed. It's fractured. And that means that they're absolutely fucking batshit crazy, but they also see and hear things that other vampires cannot. So they can sometimes see the future. They can see when people are gonna die. They can see when they themselves are gonna die. Yada, yada, yada. But that also comes with them just talking to stop signs, okay? That's why in the deluxe edition, you're given a stop sign. And you know why this pisses me off? Because you cannot play as a Malkavian in this game. And the fact that they give you the stop sign, which is a Malkavian only interaction in the original game, pisses me the fuck off. But then what pisses me even more, because, you know, I'm not even there yet. I'm not foaming at the mouth yet. We will get there.
Does this Karen know that the developer has pulled an early 2010s Capcom decision by locking the pre-orders on CD, or no? Probably not. Like even her talking about the nostalgia bait stuff, I don't see that what that has to do with like the game not having the replayability that she was talking about. Like, you can be mad about this nostalgia bait. That I can completely get behind that. It's trying to feed into the idea of this, but she hasn't even gotten into the fact that they're hiding the clans. Like, I could give a shit about nostalgia bait, right? If sometimes I'll indulge in some nostalgia bait, but it's the clans being locked behind the paywall is like, it has nothing to do with VeilGuard or any of that other shit. It's just normal shitty practices.
Is that in the premium edition, right? You get like a day one DLC or whatever the fuck they're calling it nowadays, and they put 2 clans behind a paywall. If you don't pay for the premium edition of this game, you are missing out on two clans. And that
You will buy the deluxe slop and be happy. That's right. That is right.
tells me one thing and one thing only, that clans are not gonna be as role-playing heavy as they were in the first one. Like, I'm
Does it? I mean, that seems like a kind of schizo take. We'll watch the beginning and see, but that's not that's not an indication that there's not going to be replayability. Think just an indication that they're baiting you for more money. Like, I think the demon in her head is not giving her the right information.
I'm gonna crash out. I feel it. I feel it. It's rising. Okay,
She's felt
emerging. You play in this one as basically established protagonist, very much like Rook. In VeilGuard, you're gonna be playing as fire, not the spell the way you think it's spelled. You're gonna play as fire in this one, and they have like a completely locked like backstory and personality, and yeah. And they're telling me that it's an RPG, right? And telling me that it's a fucking sequel. More action.
The Witcher, Shepherd. I mean, it goes on and on. There's tons of RPGs, legitimate RPGs, that have a locked protagonist. Any JRPG has a locked story protagonist, and JRPGs tend to have not very much choice in them. The RPG mechanics come around the way you build your characters, not the choices you make in the game, right?
And then RPG, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, it struggles to convince after a few hours of gameplay. When you hear what the game is about and you see just how linear it is, you just realize that the game is just a vampire game. It's a vampire detective noir game. It's not a Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 game. It's just a vampire game that they slapped the Bloodlines 2 like tag on it. The same way that VeilGuard was just a fan fiction set in the world of Thedas, and they just slapped Dragon Age on top to get people to talk about it and play it.
Again, I mean, this just tells me, like, she talks about being this RPG like hound, but she doesn't seem to know the history of what happened with VeilGuard, Dreadwolf, and all the fucking hell, the developer hell that game went through before it came out. I mean, it was a mess long before that, right? I have no idea what is she talking about. She's schizoing out right now. This is what happened when a female just gets to yapping. They don't make any sense. And I mean, you clearly don't have. I'll say this. I watched a video on stream a while back that was her doing like a retrospective of the RPG industry, and my opinion coming out of it is that it was bad. Like, she didn't really have a great concept of what an RPG is. She didn't understand like the transition of where a lot of other games started pulling RPG mechanics from them, and you started getting like the action RPG used to only be action games until people started pulling RPG mechanics into it. Assassin's Creed is a good example. The original game didn't have level up mechanics. 2 and 3, I don't think, did either. It was about the equipment that you had, and every enemy was just as strong or as weak as the others. Some you couldn't necessarily sneak attack, but it wasn't like a level system. And then with the Roman one, They added in the RPG mechanics, and it became more of an action RPG than the stealth assassin game that it was before. That around that same time, a lot of people were taking RPG mechanics and adding it into other genres because players like to feel like their character is progressing, and RPG mechanics give that illusion. Did most companies do it great? No, most of it is shitty. So you're saying that this Karen doesn't know about RPGs or video games in general? Yeah, I'm saying that she talks a lot of game about knowing RPGs, and she might have played a lot of RPGs, but she doesn't seem to have really paid attention to the industry and how RPGs changed everything, right? And that's a lot of that has to do with like, and it's not even just the Western side, because the Western side RPGs were very different from the Japanese RPGs, but they're both considered RPGs. And then RPGs started spreading out. You had CRPGs, JRPGs. Hold on, I got a meme for this. Sure thing. I mean, it was a very complex thing. There's a lot of different types of RPGs, and not all of them are necessarily built on the preface of talking, right? You know, you want to get a like famous game. God damn, I hate myself for not remembering these things. It's what makes me feel like everyone's always going to call me a shit gamer, even though like I know the history around it. I can just never remember the games around it. What is that game called? I know I have it in my list. I've just never beat it. I love CRPGs. Like those are turn-based RPGs were my favorite growing up as a kid. Even if I didn't beat most of them. Oh, this is my one list. I need to go to my bucket list. I know it's on my bucket list. I may have to play. I want to play this game, Dark. We're getting off on a rant here. Darkwood. I want to start playing a few more horror games too. It's very rare that I get scared anymore, and I think some horror games may help. But if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it on stream. God, what was the name of the game? It was a CRPG, but you mostly did talking in it. What were you called? Tyranny was a good game. Underrail is one that I need to play too. That's on my wish list. Disco Elysium is a full talking game. This game came out long, but this was the first one to be just like kind of how Disco Elysium is. There was fighting in it, but it was all about the dialogue. And it had a sequel that came out a few years back. I do have Disco Elysium on my list. Oh man, it's Baldur's Gate. Playing something. Sent the meme in the Discord. All right, let's pull this up. Let's pull this sucker up. Is it in memes? Yeah. Let's see here. Copy link. Boop. Can I get bigger? There we go. Stop doing RPG elements. Items. We're not supposed to be given numbers. Years of games. Yet no real world use found. Excuse me. For 8% poison resistance. Wanted to do damage? It's called leveling up. We had tools for. Yes, please give me 4+ armor piercing and 2% stamina regeneration. Statements dreamed up by the utterly deranged. Look at what designers have been demanding your respect for all of this time. With all of the computer software, we built it for them. Hello, I would like 5% damage to undead. They have played us like fools. Yeah. Well, you know what, like the best like overstepping of RPG mechanics is like action RPGs obviously became a thing with like Diablo and stuff like that. But but then you got to like Diablo 4, and it was like 10% melee damage on a Tuesday during a full moon. You must be transformed into a wolf, but using a battle axe that a wolf can't use. There's just so many of them. It's like, what's the point of this? And even these, like, I hate, like, I like RPGs and I don't mind stat building to a point, but it's just gotten way out of control. I see gracias for watching my video. Yeah, no problem, man. It was pretty good. Now I gotta say, if you're gonna throw out allegations that you threw out at the end, don't leave me hanging on that. I need to know before I can make any decisions. But if you got a voice too, man, do some talking on it. It keeps a dyslexic man like me for reading. Welcome to the chat. We're talking about a woman now, so feel free. But I question every time I hear her talk, Nehru talk about RPGs, on how much of an RPG player she actually was.
Originally announced in 2019, we're in 2025, with a release date of 2020. If this doesn't, ring any memories of another release, you guys say that I'm reaching. You guys say that I'm reaching, and that everything is VeilGuard. Everything is VeilGuard.
Yeah, you are reaching.
It was systematically delayed, then full-on suspended before being resurrected at the Chinese room, Still Wakes the Deep, where it's being reshaped for release. I'm concerned by how narrow the game is as a role-playing experience. Amazing. Right off the bat, again, I cannot stress enough just how much of an expansive experience of role-playing the first one was, and how much replayability value it had.
Well, and it feels like she really hasn't gone back and looked at the game as a whole. What made the game good was, yes, its role-playing value. It was more, it's obviously more interesting to talk in the game and deal with a lot of the situations that are going on, but the combat was atrociously bad, like annoyingly bad in it. So, it may be a tit for tat. It's just like she's acting like it was this huge hit, and no, it was a cult classic. To me, it's a very good game in terms of the role playing aspects. But I think she's lost in her own nostalgia in her head.
And the fact that this is a sequel of the first one, and you're telling me it's a very narrow role playing experience. Too often, I feel led through metaphorical corridors from point A to B, as though I'm playing a predetermined experience rather than shaping one of my own. The term RPG has been so watered down that people don't really realize what an RPG is supposed to be like. Like, every time that I bring up the concern of, listen, if you're giving me the original character that I'm trying to make, an established personality and backstory and ethnicity and this and that, you're lying to me. It's not my character, it's your character that I can name. You're making it seem like I can customize them, which I don't even think you can customize this character, by the way, because again, they have a very specific ethnicity. I think they're like an elder Middle Eastern vampire. So, they have to have a certain look to them. So you can just play as a female or a male, which doesn't really have any change in the role-playing experience, which it should, but it doesn't. People throw oh.
How do we know that though? Like, you're telling me that they didn't. It could be a possibility, but the problem is I'm not seeing a lot of stuff that goddamn already. That that builds up to that idea that it's not going to treat you any differently, right? Maybe that's true. I've seen other games that have done that where there's really no difference. Oh shit. between the idea, you know, the male and female, or even like the different races, right? Or even if there's different races, it's very watered down. Like they may mention, "Oh, you're an orc," and then continue with the same lines that everyone else said. I'm not seeing that yet here in this. I haven't seen anything yet. Like, I wish you would show me something.
Oh, but Commander Shepard, let's all be absolutely clear on the fact that Mass Effect, it's an action game. I love Mass Effect with everything that I have and more, but Mass Effect, it's not a RPG. It's an action game with RPG elements to it. The Mass Effect series are very linear, they're extremely linear, and they are literally the blueprint of, you know, voice protagonist, backstory is set in stone, and then you have like a linear way of like, you can do side quests differently, but the end goal is, okay, this is the ending, you have 3 choices, and that's it. RPGs, in like their pure form, they're meant for you to like do whatever the fuck you want. They're supposed to be expansive, and that's why a lot of
Okay, but hold the fuck on. Like, when did games actually start having multiple endings? Like, you're talking about, like, I'm sorry, like, I understand what she's saying with RPG mechanics being very low in Mass Effect, because that was something that was argued in the first one. And then it was even like lowered. The second one was, I guess, a better option for it. But that game had choices, and it was actually known for those choices carrying on to the next series. Like you could choose to keep the Bug Queen alive, and while some of the choices didn't have massive effects in the game, they would be mentioned throughout the story of something that you did, right? We're talking about, this is the same company that made Dragon Age Inquisition, which was big on that things you did in the past affected the future. Was it perfect? No, but it was one of the first few attempts I remember ever seeing in a game where you got to do it. It seems like she's stuck on this idea of it has to be expansive for it to be an RPG. No, RPG is about role playing. Sometimes that role playing doesn't have to be super open, but it needs to give you the idea of choice in the things that you're doing, and that your choice matters. And that's one thing that Mass Effect did really well in the beginning, right? Really well. Characters would leave you. One of the choices I remember when I was playing the game for the first time, and I don't beat a lot of games, but the first Mass Effect was one that I just couldn't put down. Hold on. I don't know a fucking RPG player that would call Mass Effect, you know, not a RPG. What were their names? So spoiler alerts, if you haven't played Mass Effect, fuck off and go play it now. There's the scene where you have the two human characters that you have in the thing are in a situation. You sent them down to the planet to do 2 different jobs, and then they give you the choice, and you can only save one. I had never played a game up to that point that gave you that choice. Like, you can't save them both. One of them's going to die. Who's it going to be? And Mass Effect had decent story building for these characters, so I actually cared about my teammates and other things like that. That to me, that is one of the very definitions of an RPG. You're role playing Shepard, and you had limited ability to pick your background, but The only thing that was really stuck was the name. And yes, the story was going to end one of the few ways that you did it. But even then, there weren't a lot of games doing multiple endings. It was usually just you got to the end of the game and then you were done. She's completely lost the plot here. And she needs to go replay all of those games. Oh, man.
RPGs are very, very, very long. Like, I'm talking minimum 200 hours because there's a lot to do. There's a lot of ways to do it. Don't say Shepard and don't say Geralt because those are just pre-established characters. And
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a pre-established character. It doesn't make the game not an RPG, right? You can do stories and things like that in The Witcher 3. And The Witcher 3 was... yes, you're role-playing as Geralt, right? That doesn't make it not an RPG. I'm sorry. An RPG doesn't have to be so open that you have to do full headcanon for your character for it to be considered a role-playing game. You took the job as Geralt, and you made choices in that game based off of Geralt. You could let people live. You could, kill people. You could make choices to help other people. The story in there is what made choices. If we're going with this idea that Geralt and Shepard don't count, then none of the JRPGs count either, and you're just completely missing the plot if you say that. You just have no fucking clue what you're talking about.
But they are not true RPG characters. And you can still have like a middle of the road, which again, Dragon Age Origins and the original Bloodlines was a middle of the road. They were not like classic RPGs, but they were not.
Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate is one of the most talked about RPG games based off of the tabletop RPG Dungeons and Dragons. Your character was set. You could say your name, but you were always announced as, one thing, right? It was never your name that you put in there didn't fucking matter. It was an RPG in every sense of the word, but your story was set. You were the son of Baal, and you had to make your decisions based off on this. This idea that it has to be a completely open character is fucking brain dead. She has this silent blank state protagonist brain rot. Yeah, it has to be the silent protagonist. There can be no way that it's an RPG based off of those. VeilGuard was shit, but VeilGuard was still an RPG. Even if it was all of the worst mechanics of an RPG with little to no real choice.
Action RPGs as we know them today. They were action RPGs as these ones should be. They still cater to classic RPGs in the sense of like you have to allocate your own skill points. You have to actually put some effort into what you're doing, into thinking and what, how you want to do your build. It's not just like, oh, I'm going to click on this icon that has an arrow on it because I'm an archer. No, you actually have to put your thinking cap on and you have to put points in lockpicking, stealth, and melee and stuff like that. Like it's a little bit more complicated, and still it's not turn.
What? Hold on. What?
Has an arrow on it because I'm an archer. No, you actually have to put your thinking cap on and you have to put points in lockpicking, stealth, and melee and stuff like that. Like it's a little bit more complicated, and still it's not turn-based. It's, you can fuck shit up and you can shoot people. That's another thing. That's another thing that we're gonna get into later.
So what is she trying to say here? Like, even turn-based RPGs don't necessarily have, classes don't make it an RPG. Is that what she's saying? You have to think about it and build your character. I feel like she's only ever played 5 RPGs, and what is she trying to go on here?
Okay, in Bloodlines, you could shoot people. You could use melee and ranged weapons. guess what? Guess what you cannot use in the new one? Paradox is leaning into the action.
Classes don't make an RPG. Yeah, I agree. Classes don't make an RPG. She's. I'm trying to figure out what her idea of an RPG is, because I'm so fucking confused right now about what she thinks makes an RPG. The humble Final Fantasy 1 is not an RPG. Oh God.
Part of the action RPG descriptor. For what I've played, this is more like an action or a stealth game with some RPG elements rather than the other way around. So this is gonna be playing very much like Dishonored, but I don't think the gameplay is gonna be polished enough to give a Dishonored-like experience. From the moment you take control of this character, a character cringely called Fire. P-H-Y-R-E, Fire. And who likes to announce their name at every
Hold
given
on.
opportunity.
Shut up. It's nice having a pause button. I need one of those for other people in my life. So, fire, P-H-Y-R-E, has several meanings. It's of Armenian origin, meaning one who burns brightly, or simply burning bright. The name is derived from the English word fire, symbolizing passion and intensity. Fire also is often used as a unisex name. So like V is a kind of unisex name. Anyone can use it. They chose this word. Where is... Okay, hold on. Oh, go to the store. Blood lines 2. Okay. Vampire the Masquerade. Sure, if I go here. Damn it. Bear with me. Detective. This entity, a vampire detective, will explore through the city. It doesn't look like it says yet. Blood sustains you. You are a nomad, an elder vampire awakened from century-long slumber. New to the modern nights, tapped into your blood is a stranger's voice. You explore the city. Okay. They're an elder vampire. They have an Armenian name. Like, okay, this could make sense, right? I'll bring it up here so y'all can see. Fire has several meaning. Armenian origin, meaning one who burns brightly, or simply burning bright. Could it be that? This could be one example. It's also considered a unisex name. So if you wanted to have a name for the protagonist so that it was voiced in the game, a unisex name is usually a good one to use. There could be other meaning to it. Pyre. Each pyre Vampire. It's just, it's like taking like the least amount of time to understand what that means.
So you play. This is Rook. I hear fire and I hear Rook. What I'm hearing is
that's because the only thing you can think of nowadays is VeilGuard. There's nothing else in your mind. It's what's made you big. So we need to keep pushing that. That thing to keep you going. Hold on. What'd you say here? Sorry, I watched you react to the video. You're correct about all the text. Maybe I'll do some vocal commentary. Afraid of my voice being out there. People might recognize me. Might try AI. Hey, it's not something you have to do. It's just more of for a lazy content creator like me. I prefer to hear something. So, I mean, if you want to do an AI voice, you can. It'll just make it easier than having to kind of click back and forth sometimes when I'm going through that. Other than that, I think it was a pretty interesting video. I thought, which you corrected for me, that he was like a boxing coach when they were talking about creating kids. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I find out he's a fake wrestling coach. And I care a little bit about that, but it is what it is. No, he teaches professional wrestling. Yeah, but he doesn't teach like the real wrestling. He teaches the Stone Cold Steve Austin. Are they actual professionals? I guess is what you're saying, that they actually have their own little company. Gotcha. I mean, I guess that could still be cool. I'm not a big wrestling guy anymore. I kind of grew out of it, but yeah. All right, let's get back to trashing this woman.
Wanted to make a detective noir because this is the Chinese room, okay? And they're very story heavy, but they don't necessarily know how to do the story part also work with allowing for role playing. So this is just a very linear story of, oh, you are a very old vampire and you have another vampire stuck in your brain and you have to discover what happened to you. But you also have to discover what happened to the vampire stuck in your brain. And it's just like a detective story, which again, I have nothing against, but it is very linear and it's not, it doesn't belong in a Bloodlines game. Like, it doesn't. This should have just been its own IP. Just do.
I don't understand this, like, this mentality she's got. Like, it can't be linear and be an RPG. I don't know any RPGs that have, like, vastly, even Vampire the Masquerade, right? You're still coming to the same end. You're trying to discover what's in the ancient box, and you're being sent on missions that are the main story missions. There's just a lot of branches that all lead to that, right? It's still in a way linear. You can just take a lot of paths to get down that linear path. I guess I'd have to play the game again to like really get through and beat it. But from what I've re-looked at it and reimagined, it's not this. She's acting like this. It's this magic game that is on level with like Baldur's Gate 3, which even then has a linear story to it that you're going through. Does this Karen think that VeilGuard is Freddy Krueger? Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. I mean, she got popular with, and generally I like Nuhre. She can be funny, and she's gone after some of the anti-wokes. Her little arc against old dumbfuck, whatever his name was, Endymion, was pretty funny. But it's not. She's just lost the plot here. Now everything she's comparing to VeilGuard, and it's just not the case with this game. Like, this is a linear story path is in every single RPG that I've ever played, right? Even you go to Baldur's Gate, where you can do a bunch of side quests and stuff like that. The main story is still to get to the end and find your brother. That doesn't change. In Dragon Age Inquisition, the main plot of the storyline is still to figure out everything. Not Inquisition, just Dragon Age, is to find out everything, bring the kingdoms together and the different races together to fight against the I hate that I can't remember names. The badass dudes, which they made them. I'm sorry, when it comes to VeilGuard, what they did to the tainted ones, it was it was awful. What's next? She's going to say Borderlands has a linear storyline, right? Well, what are you going to say? Like, everything has some form of linear storyline. You're always going to have the beginning of what starts your mission, the hook or MacGuffin or whatever it is that gets you onto the mission so that you eventually can get to the end and stop the evil plot or find the MacGuffin or find your son, whatever it is. That's just storytelling. Now, RPGs have several ways that they do this differently depending on the RPG. Something like most Japanese RPGs are going to really focus in on the story being really good, even though it's going to be linear. Well, depending on the, JRPG. And then a lot of the RPG mechanics, the role playing that comes into it is leveling up your character, choosing how they're going to fight, picking the skills that you want. Some are better than others at it. So that's how a JRPG is going to work. CRPGs, usually you're going to have a mix of that, depending on what they are. Though you have CRPGs like Disco Elysium, where the whole game is about going through the story and, figuring out what you need to do and figuring out the case that's going through, which I haven't beat a lot of these games, so I'm not saying that I'm an expert on these games that I'm talking about, but they all still have some form of linear storyline. All branching storylines is illusion of choice. Now, multiple endings is where your choice can start to matter, especially if a company comes around that ever actually makes it change the way the game plays in the sequel. I mean, that's just the way it is.
A vampire game where you're just a vampire that has another vampire stuck in your brain, but this, I don't fucking care about this. Like, not even a little bit. The more linear approach to level.
It's like she's already decided it's VeilGuard, and so she doesn't care about what the story is. I mean, dude stuck in your head, yeah, it's not a new concept, right? But it could still be an interesting story. I still think it's going to be lacking in, it's not going to be anywhere close to competing with the original, right? I just don't think you're going to do that. And I don't think that would sell well in today's age. I was talking with someone about it. I think it was Q. I think I was talking to Q about it, and it's just like, yeah, we're in a different time. Kids don't play a lot of the people now don't play a lot of games with huge branching stories. There's a niche market for it, sure, but something more mainstream, something bigger, I'm not so sure.
Levels and situations also means areas have been shaped especially to encourage entertaining platformer like traversal. Dishonored. Nice though they are to look at, in these areas there's little you can actually interact with. A problem that carries right across the game. Take the city of Seattle, for instance, where the game said it looks nice, God, as it has a
Tormented. That's the game that I was thinking of. Tormented, and I think the new one is Tides of Numeria. I don't remember if that's the original. Is Tormented was a game that was all about the branching storylines. It was like one of the few games you could start in the beginning and never get into an actual physical fight, and the fights were usually ultra hard. It was actually beneficial to not get to it. Like, that was a very story driven one, and it had RPG level up mechanics, but it really wasn't a focus on fighting. Unfortunately, big branching RPGs don't have ball or guns, so Americans don't like it. That is true. That is true.
Being in heavy snowfall and moody in the dark, lit by pools of a street light or car headlights. But the only doors you can interact with are the ones that lead to a specific quest objectives, of which there are only 1 or 2 in the preview build, and the only people you can interact with, well, you can utter a few words to some people in an effort to lead them into an alley to drain their blood, which regenerates health or regains special ability charges or earns you a kind of a great currency. For the most part, it feels like a place filled with non-interactive extras. And I will say this, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines is not an open world, it's not a semi-open world, it's, you have different levels, right? And because you were restricted to streets in towns and cities, you would take a taxi, you would go to a different section of the game. They really put a lot of effort into making the city lift in, make it seem like, like you were living in that city, like people were living in that city, like it had like life in it. So you could interact with NPCs, you could like bribe them, you could seduce them, and so on and so forth. I feel like what I'm trying to say is like they made a lot of NPCs that weren't like vampires and stuff like that actually have their own lives and things that you could look into and blackmail them with and just interact with them about. And I don't think that's going to be the case here. I feel like the NPCs, like the human NPCs for the most part, are just going to be there for the sake of being there. I don't know, it's just like, again, it's 20 years after the fact, and the fact that they're choosing to go their route of, okay, let's just like have very specific NPCs that you can interact with, and that's it. This feeling extends to the building environments.
I mean, but we have, okay, so we're looking at they're coming off of the demo for all of this, sure. So we really don't know how open the world is going to be. I feel like they may be wanting to try. I don't know how big their Seattle sections are going to be, or if it's going to be different sides of it. I'm sure to make it feel lived in, there will be a lot of dead NPCs that just hopefully at least walk around and don't stand in the same spots all day. And you may be able to do stuff and interact with them and seduce them. You would think that would be part of the game, but I don't know. We really just don't know. And yeah, I think the big thing, like somebody is saying, is they don't do it in the demo. So it's like this is what they're showing off as the best parts. So where is the stuff that Vampire the Masquerade players are going to want to play?
You enter, there's a hotel lobby that's full of people at a Christmas do, but I can interact with any of them. That's lovely. Then when I get to the more gamey areas of the hotel, which are where I'll fight some packs of low-level vampires, facts really, there's no one else around. These halls and corridors are mostly empty with only occasional clusters of enemies there. I don't like that. I don't like when, you can tell that a set is just built for a combat encounter. I absolutely despise it. One of the things that the first one did very well was reuse, and not in the sense of like, oh, we're just reusing assets and set pieces. Like, it did really well on like, you could enter some areas and they would be empty, or there would be like specific NPCs here and there, and then maybe if you did something and you went there again, there would be enemies. But I don't like it when it's just like, oh, this was built for me to fight in. I don't like that. Even the more central characters don't inspire much excitement when you meet them. They're nice enough to look at, but predictable to the point of a stereotype, with the exception of Tully, a disfigured Nosferatu who injects much needed humor and charisma, and the interactions with them feel stiff. There's not much intrigue in the dialogue. You can provoke reactions such as arousal or embarrassment or annoyance, which suggests these things mean something in the gameplay sense, but how that plays out is unclear for now from what I've played. So even when you go, to the whole interacting with actual essential characters, they're just forgettable. And I did notice that when watching like the trailers and the bits of gameplay videos that they've put out in the past, and I think that's a very common thing nowadays in RPGs, where they will make companions very normal, like very boring. And I don't fuck with that. Like, I had that thought yesterday when I was watching like the Outer Worlds 2 trailer thing, where the companions are just the most unseasoned, boring, just safe choices you could ever make. When back in the day, companions were just like, you would look at a character and be like, oh, that's a companion. Like, I know 100%.
I think she has schizophrenia. Like, I don't know anything about these characters, so I can't say much on who they are. But like, looking at this picture, she needs her Xanax. I might need it by the end of this. I mean, these are two still pictures. They all look like lifeless characters. Yes, this game right here has unique races in it and elves, but all the humans look the same. Like, yeah, Morgana is like a phenom. So when you look back on her, but it wasn't the way she was dressed and created. That's only part of what made her a iconic character. This it's the same photo. You're just using this because there's more nostalgia around these characters, right? We understand who he is and the backstories that they wrote for him and that they made him good. This is for what game? The Outer Worlds 2? Have we even had an opportunity to take a look at their characters? I mean,
companions were just like, you would look at a character and be like, oh, that's a companion. Like, I know 100% that is a companion. Like, they would just stand out. They were designed to stand out, to, be special. I fully expect this empty.
Yeah, I disagree with that. Who's the first chick you get in Skyrim is just like someone standing in a bar. And I think I missed her the first time going through and didn't know she could be a companion. Yes, some are built very unique. Sure, I like it, right? And that can be a really cool, unique character. But yeah, I don't know what she's getting at here.
Filling Seattle Playground to populate with places to go and people to meet. At least I hope that's the case. But I also expect a preview build to be designed to showcase the best part of the games I'm previewing. So what he's saying, it's like, sure, these things that he's complaining about could be fixed in the future, but as someone that has been given access to a preview, like access to the game before anyone else, and they know that they're going to review it, they're going to write an article on it, you would expect them to show you the best of what they have to offer, of what the game has to offer. And
That's
if this
true.
is the case, and this is what the game has to offer, my man here is not impressed at all. And, I understand exactly why.
At the end? Yeah, I don't know. I think she's like off base here. Oh man, that was something. But guess what? She did another rant yesterday. So we're gonna listen to this one and see what she has to say before we maybe look at some of the gameplay that she's talking about and see if I can come to some of the same conclusions.
And you cannot play as a Malkavian. And the reason is because
Okay, hold on.
you cannot play as a Malkavian. And the reason is because the vampire stuck in your head, that vampire is a Malkavian. And you can play some areas of the game as the Malkavian. Like you go back in time or something to remember what happened and how you died. So this is kind of like a dual protagonist thing. Again, why? Not a role-playing game. This is extremely linear, and the story.
Your last video told me nothing about what you think a role-playing game is.
Set on stone. So don't say that it's an RPG because it pisses me the fuck off. You won't be able to play as a Malkavian as Fire, the protagonist.
So, I mean, if you just go down to the very basics of role-playing game, it's you're playing a role in a game, role-playing game. I like being able to make my own character, but you can role play as another character. That doesn't make it not a role playing game, right? Now, in the world of the RPG gaming industry, there's several things that people consider role playing elements of a game. You've got character creation is generally one of them, but it's not necessary. You have branching story paths in the video game. You can say choices mattering, but that doesn't necessarily. That's still like a newer thing, in my opinion, when it comes to video games. And even then, even when you go back to some of the ones that I think do it the best, like Mass Effect, it's still more of an illusion and then giving you a hint. Then you've got the mechanics that you level up with, the way you get spells, the way you get abilities. You're, building your character up to be how you want to play them, right? So this is just a couple of the things that I think make up RPGs. You can do that. You're trying to play it the way you want to play it. Dialogue with branching paths can definitely be considered a part of an RPG, but it's not always necessarily. You can have a first-person shooter that takes that element of branching paths that's more traditional in RPGs and use it, but it doesn't make that game an RPG necessarily. Level up mechanics tend to be used more often than not by the AAA industry as a reason to call something an RPG, action RPG, things like that. And you get into the action RPGs, the isometric action RPGs like Diablo, where it's really the RPG isn't about the branching stories and paths. It's about the character build itself and playing the way you want it to be. I need her to tell me what she thinks it's required to be an RPG, because I still have no idea.
Protagonist, but you will be able to play it as Fabian, like you're sharing your head with the disembodied voice of a detective who happens to be a Malkavian. Fabian is actually playable. While Fire sleeps, you'll be able to explore Fabian's past as the Malkavian vampire himself plays a detective in a neo-noir 1920s Seattle. So you basically go back in time and you play as a completely different character, and you're I think there's puzzles of some kind, which is what the fuck are we doing? Who are we? Why are we here just to suffer? I'm not 3. I don't need puzzles, okay? If I want to play a puzzle game, I'll play a puzzle game. If I want to actually think, I'll play Tomb Raider, okay? And turn the voice of Lara Croft off so she doesn't tell me what to do. It's very linear. This game is very linear, and the fact that it's being marketed as an RPG really pisses me off. The fact that it's...
She's also making these statements like it's very linear. It's very... all this is being based off of the demo, right? And yes, the demo is supposed to be the, whatever, the showing off the best parts of the game. But... show me where it's not being show me where it's being linear other than the demo build that took you through one area. I'm not trying to defend this game. I know it's not going to be Vampire the Masquerade. I know it's not going to be what that cult classic was, but you're speaking these with such confidence that I think you have no idea what you're talking about.
Marketed as a Bloodlines game really pisses me the fuck off. And other people have been commented on it, but one of my main issues and my main gripes with this game is like the previous one touched on very serious topics, okay? The first game wasn't a serious game by a long shot, but it did deal with incest, cannibalism, murder. You know, it didn't sugarcoat it. Like, it was what it was, and you could see it. And I severely doubt that they're gonna touch on anything. And before anyone is like, oh, why do you want like a game to talk about? I don't want a game to talk about, okay? But the same way that Origins is set in a world that's been ravaged by a plague that turns people into sentient zombies, and it's set on a medieval like setting where people did fucked up things because there was no fucking police and shit like that. This game is set in a world where, you know, you are a vampire and you're part of a secret society, a secret life, a secret culture of monsters. Vampires are not fucking human beings, they're vampires, and they've been alive for a very long time, and they have access to these abilities and these powers, and they do fucked up shit to humans and to each other. That's just the way it is, and that was established pretty early on Bloodlines. I hope that they do touch on it and they talk about said topics, but I severely doubt it. And yeah, I just think they wanted, and there's another bit of proof that, you know, proves that this game wasn't really supposed to be a Bloodlines game, but they kind of went with it. Like, when it switched hands, the game was already announced, so they couldn't do anything about it. So they was like, oh yeah, it's a Bloodlines game. It's a Bloodlines game.
What?
So then we have IGN.
So the people who were doing it before, it was in dev hell, it was denounced. Then another company picks it up and we're like, well, you know, it's that doesn't make any sense. What do you mean? Like, that just so far you're giving me very little actual evidence about like what makes this game not a Bloodlines game, other than it's not an RPG, though you haven't explained what that means in any kind of way that a human being can understand. And you've read a few articles and maybe played the demo. So it's a lot of words.
Which, surprisingly, not everything is, you know, roses and gold with IGN in this one. We play as Fire the Nomad, a semi-customizable character with a fixed backstory. So if you're not getting it from me, you're getting it from these people. They're telling you, you're not, it's not your character. It's kind of like Geralt, where you can play as Geralt and you can change his beard and his hair, but it's Geralt of Rivia. So this is kind of like oh yeah, it's an RPG.
Yeah, but you can still make choices for Geralt in the game that affect it, right? Yeah, you just don't know what to say. Like, you're trying to tell me that The Witcher isn't a role-playing game when it is clearly a role-playing game. Just because you're in a character's head, because you're in one particular character's, you're role-playing that character, and you're making the choices for him in that, right? Be nice to the kid, don't be nice to the kid. Kill the old lady, don't kill the old lady. I mean, I don't know what to say. What are you?
RPG, you can totally, like, you know, customize your character and whatever, but you can't. And you're playing as a guy. IGN says, okay, the other guy from Eurogamer said the RPG aspect of it, it's really, really, really weak. The only redeeming quality might be the combat. And here we have IGN of everyone saying the combat is the weak link here. So what is redeeming about this fucking game? The combat is probably the weak link here, at least from the handful of hours I've been able to play. I will allow for the possibility that I just haven't gotten the hang of it yet. But I ran through the whole thing as a Blood Mage as a Blood Mage Tremere, a Brawling Bruja, and a Seductive Toreador. The last one, along with La Sombra, being part of a day one DLC that comes with the premium edition. And in each case, it felt like melee combat in particular was a bit imprecise and chaotic. And mind you, melee combat is the focus of the combat, because as you can see here, it's also a little disappointing that you can only use weapons, including guns, by way of telekinesis. I get that fire is older than modern firearms, but being a vampire with a sweet-ass dual pistol is an iconic vibe that just isn't featured in Bloodlines 2. Guns were a massive part of Bloodlines, the original game. Like machine guns, dual Glocks, katanas, all of it. It was just, the world is your oyster. You had an exclusive arms dealer just for you, and it was the biggest deal about the game. And the fact that they have been relegated to second fucking place pisses me off. And then we have this. Game Informer. What makes Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 a Bloodlines game? Nothing. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is a sequel to a game from over 20 years ago. And as a result, the two RPGs don't look similar, which is understandable. It's understandable. It's been 20 years. The art is modernized, and between the combat of
She's definitely being a purist, and not even a good one. Like it's I don't even know what to say. It's like breaking my brain. It's yeah, it's a 20-year-old game, so you're wanting it to look exactly the same. No. I get you. Want the problem I have with companies picking up cult classics like this is they're not going to produce or even know the envision that the original people had with it. And on top of that, like others have said, you're selling it to a completely different audience. So if you want the game to do good and you want people to bring people into this world, you have to do you have to bring it into them. Like Vampire the Masquerades is an awesome tabletop RPG, right? I would like to see it become more popular than it is, but it is a difficult one to get into. Right? It's not your traditional RPG where it's mostly about fight. If you're playing as hunters, yeah, there can be a lot of fighting into it, but then you're a human going against superhuman vampires. So it doesn't always end well. But I don't know what she wants this game to be, right? Just tell me what you think this game should be.
Overhaul the more linear approach to storytelling. That's a third person telling you this game is going to be linear as hell. Not me, people that have played it. And a completely new developer, it does raise a big question.
Okay, I can't read what she's saying there, so I'm like locked in on this, so we're going like full reading screen here. What was this, IGN? All right. Okay, let's see. I mean, it is Paradox pushing into it. Oh, that's an interesting trailer. Really? It didn't bring up this article? Just fucking go to IGN. Oh, this is Game Informer. Why did it do that? Okay. Game Informer Bloodlines 2. Not W2. And then delete the other ones here. All right. What makes... So let's see what they said here. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is a sequel to the game of over 20 years. As a result, the two RPGs don't look similar. The art is modernized, and between the combat overhaul and the more linear approach to storytelling and a completely new developer, it raises a big question. Why call it a Bloodlines 2? After all, if the game is so different from the original, why tie it to the game instead of calling it something new? Or on our exclusive cover story trip to Birmingham, we asked the developers at the Chinese room this exact question, and they had a few answers. When I asked the creative director, Alex Sycamore, why the game is called Bloodlines 2 instead of something else, he thinks for a while and then starts to answer it. That's what we were asked to do. Okay, yeah, that's pretty fucked. Its honest response. Notoriously, Bloodlines 2 was originally being made by Hardsuit Labs and got far enough into development to show at E3 2019, but the next 2 years are filled with delays, departures, and ultimately the decision to remove Hardsuit Labs from the project entirely. The Chinese room took its place, and since it was working on the project that has already been announced, it didn't have much of a choice. This game would always be called Bloodlines 2. Okay, so what they're saying there is, why is it called Bloodlines 2? Well, because when they took over the game, it was already too late to call it anything other than Bloodlines 2. What a way to kill confidence in the product, right? Yeah, absolutely. Which makes me think, like, how much of the game was done when these guys took over and finished it off. It raises more interesting questions, however. What exactly makes a game a Bloodlines 2 game? It's a series with only one prior entry, and modernizing it will largely for the better creates massive differences. It makes me think about game series like Assassin's Creed. That's actually a good example. In its early days, I would have said it was defined as stealth, parkour, and a relationship between the past and modern day. But later entries have de-emphasized all three of these traits, and the series is still going strong. It was a gradual shift, however. A jump from Assassin's Creed 1 to Assassin's Creed Shadows would be jarring. And that's a time span several years shorter than between Bloodlines games. Ultimately, you could ask 100 fans of the games what is defining characteristics, and on two lists would be identical. When I ask a narrative director, Ian Thomas, what he stood out to him about the original Bloodlines, he says, I think that it's difficult to say from person to person because everybody has personal experiences of it. For me, it's what it was so good at was atmosphere. Agreed. It completely drenched everything in atmosphere. The same, I think, is true for a lot of older games, Thomas continues. The parts which stick certainly to a story game player like me tend to be the atmosphere, the music, the lighting, the characters that you meet. Those tend to be the key ingredients for me. Okay, that's a good way to put it. Naturally, he says the atmosphere is one of the main elements they tried to nail in the sequel. You can meet the people and judge the politics between them, which is very much like the old Bloodlines. But again, as I said earlier, for me, the original Bloodlines was so much about being drenched in that atmosphere that I like to think we carry that off really well to try and give you the same kind of feel. He concludes by saying, the tone and the feel of Bloodlines inspired the sequel's plot as well. Even if beat by beat the story doesn't directly descend from Bloodlines 1, the same feel and the same shape is there, and we showing almost the same kind of set playing pieces, just in the new stage in a different state, he says. Unlike the newly embraced Kinder in the original game, Kindred, Pyre, Bloodlines 2's protagonist, is an elder vampire that said that they will start the game waking up to an unfamiliar city after 100 years sleep. So they are practically just as new to the game as Bloodlines 1 protagonist. The game still has factions to manage, choices to make, and rules to abide by, even if the sequel seems to be more linear than its predecessor. Like Thomas says, the beats are different, but they're from a familiar shape. Still, I expect the changes may upset some diehard fans of the original, especially the fact that the base version of Bloodlines 2 only includes 4 clan options. Yeah, I mean, this is probably the worst thing that they did. And excludes some of the most game-altering options like the Malkavian and Nosferatu. Yeah, that's a miss. That's 2 things you should have gotten in there. On the other hand, I am very excited for the new combat system. I didn't know I wanted it until I tried it, and now I'm, pun intended, hungry for more. Like Skidmore started by saying Bloodlines 2 was what he was asked to do, his full response is more thorough. We wanted to broaden our capacity and showcase extra skills that we could do, Skidmore says, because you can tell deeper stories when you get deeper mechanics, a story where you can be violent within it. In this game, there are story choices. I don't want to spoil them too much, where you will have people's lives in your hands. We don't have that in our other games. So as a studio, we're grabbed this opportunity with both hands. The Wolf of Darkness fits our storytelling, our sort of mature style of storytelling. So ultimately, the Bloodlines 2 is what happens when the Chinese room makes a Bloodline 2. The Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is out in October, blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, they're already mentioning, like, here, that they are looking to do choice. Now, there's a lot of companies that throw a lot of these words around, right? Like choice, deeper story mechanics, a story where you can be violent within. In this game, there are story choices. I don't want to spoil them. He talks about the different factions in there. So hopefully, the openness of it is actually being able to interact with some of these factions, even if it's maybe a more linear storyline, right? This could still end up being an RPG. I don't have a lot of hope that it's going to, itch my nostalgia for it, but if the combat, like one thing I saw that we were watching the other day is they talked about the combat being more engaging, more violent. You feel like a powerful vampire, and I think that's a good thing to have in a vampire game, period, especially even one that's based around Vampire the Masquerade. So I feel like she's using bits and pieces of this to like build this narrative that she has in her head. She already thinks it's VeilGuard, so now she's looking for the evidence that says it's VeilGuard.
Why call it Bloodlines 2? When I asked creative director Alex Skidmore why the game is called Bloodlines 2, instead of something else, he thinks for a while, then he starts his answer by saying, "It's what we were asked to do." I will let that sink in for a little bit. When I asked creative director Alice Skidmore why the game is called Bloodlines 2 instead of something else, he thinks,
from a PR perspective, knowing how the game industry is, that's probably like the worst comment you could have made, right?
For a while, then he starts his answer by saying, "It's what we were asked to do." Notoriously, Bloodlines 2 was originally being made by Harsuit Labs and got far enough in development to be shown at E3 2019. But the next 2 years were filled with delays, departures, and ultimately the decision to remove Harsuit Labs from the project entirely. The Chinese room took its place, and since it was working on a project that had already been announced, it didn't have much of a choice. This game would always be called Bloodlines 2. They didn't have a choice. It's very obvious by the way that the game has been presented so far, and the fact that multiple people that have played it saying that it's a linear story, that this game was completely overhauled by the time that it got to the Chinese room's hands. And they're known for making, fairly decent, fairly good, story-heavy games, but they are just linear games, which is completely fine. Linear games are completely fine. They're completely serviceable. They're completely enjoyable. I'm not saying that they're not, but a linear game, it's in direct opposition with an RPG.
It's not, though. You can have a linear RPG. She's harping on this idea of linear, like there's not going to be anything else you can interact with. It's going to be just point A to point B every single time. Here's your next quest. Keep going. And that may not be the case. It could be very well be a different idea. It very well might be that it's a more linear storyline, but you can still interact with people. They're probably not going to have multiple endings. I just probably don't see that happening here, which people like. I don't generally care. I don't replay games enough for it. I feel like we've been almost 2 hours and she hasn't said a lot we can work with. Yeah, it's very, very much so. So far, linear games are bad. Well, not bad, but not RPGs. And this game's not going to be an RPG because it's a named character.
RPG usually has, multiple endings, multiple ways to get there, yada, 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 the whole fucking spiel.
RPGs do not always have multiple endings. That is just bullshit. Absolute bullshit. In that, if you're trying to say that it's Western games, that's absolute bullshit. Western RPGs for the longest time had linear, one-sided endings. That does not make it an RPG. I'm sorry, it doesn't.
A linear game is not the case. A linear game has a start, a middle, and an end. And this game, it's looking like it has
all games have a start, a middle, and an end. Sometimes there's branching paths that get you to that. But in the long run, you're even in a lot of, multiple ending games, you still end up in the same spot. Parts of that same spot change based off of something you do. Sometimes a game has no end. Yeah, I guess so. But Rimworld I could play forever. But it's just this is insanity.
A beginning, a middle, and an end, which is completely fine. But that doesn't belong in an RPG experience. This game, it's a vampire game about being a detective and finding out about yourself and the vampire stuck in your brain. So you're just playing as two people, as two protagonists. It's a dual protagonist game, but it's not an RPG. And it's not a Bloodlines game. It's set in the setting. And sure, it's called Bloodlines 2, but it's not a Bloodlines game. And it's just a fan fiction. The same way that VeilGuard was a fan fiction for Dragon Age, this is a fan fiction for Bloodlines. Even if bit by bit the story doesn't directly descend from Bloodlines 1, the same feel and the same shape is there, and we're showing almost the same kind of set of playing pieces, just in a new stage, in a different state. I love that this is a very like complex way of saying the game is just a different game altogether. Because what the fuck do you mean? Like, this is the ship of Theseus. He's saying like,
What? I have to pull up the fucking article again because she's fucking giving me schizophrenia. Which one is this part? It's right under this chick. He concludes, hold on, you missed this whole area. I think it's the same true that Thomas stick to certain parts of the story like me, tend to be the atmosphere. Yeah, she completely passes by the whole section where he talks about what, you know, Thomas felt like the game was about when playing the original in atmosphere and all that other stuff, whether you believe in all of that or not. And then skips down to even if beat by beat the story doesn't directly descend from Bloodlines 2, the same feel and the same shape is there. And we're showing almost the same kind of set playing pieces, just in a new stage, in a different state. Different state meaning it's a, you know, it's a more modern game, so yeah, it's going to look different. Maybe I think if you want to make an argument for this, because the idea that it's not a RPG is just bullshit and can be thrown out the window. Every time she says that, she should just bleep it, or I'm not going to go any further than that. You can argue that this isn't a Bloodlines game, but it's definitely could be a Vampire the Masquerades game, right? Because Vampire the Masquerades is what it's based off of. Bloodlines just happens to be the video game that came out. So,
well, it might not look the same, it might not play the same, it might not smell the same, it might not, you know, taste the same, but technically, because, you know, it says Bloodlines on it, it is the same.
No, that's not at all what he's fucking saying there. He's saying even if beat by beat the story doesn't directly descend from Bloodlines, the same feel and the same shape is there. Like that's what he's saying. He's saying the feel that you get from Bloodlines and the shape that you get from Bloodlines is there. That's what they designed it around. They focused on the atmosphere and they updated the fighting mechanics to be better, right? Is there, or there were something they were showing. I'm going to bring this over so y'all can fucking see what I'm doing here, because this is making me crash out. But the form of the so it's like the rules abide by even if the sequel seems to be more linear than its predecessor. And that just says it feels more linear. So it's not even saying like it's a full linear game, though it might be. I'm not going to say. I haven't seen yes or no on either of that. Like Thomas says, the beats are different, but they form a familiar shape. Nothing about that says, well, it says it's Bloodlines. It says the feel, the atmosphere, the the state of the game feels that way. You know, they're basically saying like, hey, it's not going to be Bloodlines 1. We can't say that it's going to make that state, but it's going to smell like Bloodlines. It's going to feel like Bloodlines. When you walk around it, you're going to get that Bloodlines atmosphere. That's what they're going for. Are they going to actually succeed at that? That's yet to be seen. But she needs to reread this sentence because this paragraph. Unlike the newly embraced kindred in the original play, the protagonist is an elder vampire. They've even okay. I need to see what she says about that before I crash out about it.
I like the newly embraced kindred in the original game. Fire, Bloodlines 2 protagonist. It's an elder vampire. That said, they start the game by waking up in an unfamiliar city after 100 years sleep.
God, I hope we find out that this vampire is Armenian. I would just like, mwah.
So they're practically just as new to the game's world as Bloodlines 2 Bloodlines 1 protagonist. The game still has functions to manage, choices to make, and rules to abide by, even if the sequel seems to be more linear than its predecessor. How many times have they said linear at this point? How many times do you guys think that they have explicitly expressed this is a very linear game?
Linear is her trigger word.
I feel like without the Bloodlines 2 tag, this game, like the vampire game,
Crash out, light activates. Ladies and gentlemen, please fasten your seatbelts. This is just... I already have anger that she's just a woman. But now she's trying to tell me what RPGs are? That I cannot abide by.
Vampire, whatever, could have been a decent, like gritty, black noir thriller game about a vampire, the same way that Vampire was. Like an interesting experience, a linear experience, a game, single player game.
It could be a Vampire Masquerade game without Bloodlines, sure.
You could play, put 20 hours of your life into it and have a good time and call it a day. But they attached a very, very, very big IP name to it. An IP name.
I don't think you know anything about the IP. The IP was not very, 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 very big. The IP, when it came out, sold less than 80,000 copies. The company shut down months later. Later, it became a cult classic, but there's a lot of cult classics that aren't, cult classics tend to not be super mainstream, right? They make a comeback and they becomes a decent audience for it, but that doesn't make it a mainstream. Cult classics aren't mainstream. There's a big elephant in the room that you have to deal with when you're making a cult classic and remaking a cult classic, because you're going to have super fans of it that are looking for the same experience they got with the first one, right? But this isn't a AAA game. Bloodlines was not AAA quality. It wasn't a AAA game. It was a buggy fucking mess that wasn't picked up until later because of its replayability and how the different factions can work and all the goofy stuff that happened in it. And the bad gameplay became part of the experience, right? It's kind of like a Bethesda game. Outside of some of the new ones coming out, but it's like Bethesda games would come out and fucking sell, and they would still be buggy, and people would still make fun of how buggy they are. And it's a meme that, those games are buggy, to the point where when they came out with the latest remake, they left the bugs in for people so they could still have the nostalgia of it. What are we talking about here? Not a AAA game. I don't know that you know much about this series as you think you do.
That it's, it started as a tabletop RPG. So there's no technically Bloodlines wasn't an RPG. No. The game, Bloodlines, the first one, became a game, and it was strictly based on the tabletop RPG, of the World of Darkness.
Okay, that doesn't make it an RPG by your standards. Tabletop RPGs let you do a lot more than they do in other games. And Bloodlines was, bringing that in there during that time, but it hasn't overtaken Bloodlines as a tabletop RPG game. That's still a beloved tabletop RPG game.
Darkness, it's an RPG. It's an RPG. It was built, created, and designed to be an RPG and to play as an RPG. So this is not it. The base version of Bloodlines 2 only includes 4 clan options. I know some of you were asking. You can only play as 4 clans, the base one. compared to the original 7. So originally in Bloodlines 1, you could play as 7, you can only play as 4, and exclude some of the most game-altering options, like Malkavian and Nosferatu. If you guys don't know, Nosferatu are just like what you think when you think of Dracula, like that fucked up looking.
That's not even correct. Nosferatu was a specific type of vampire. Dracula wasn't like a Nosferatu. What was the... Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, Dracula was not the first. The first Dracula movie was not Dracula as a Nosferatu. Nosferatu is its own fucking movie. There are differences and similarities between Nosferatu and Dracula. It's just, okay. Two images. There are two different movies. Two different, yeah. Not all vampires is the same. This girl needs to go back to watching fucking Twilight. Nosferatu, right there. The first Dracula movie that came out and how he was portrayed. Right fucking there. Does that look like the same thing as this? Huh? Because this is Nosferatu, a type of vampire that had to deal with, you know, the fear of looks and the monsters of being a vampire. And Dracula was a completely different form and factor dealing with vampires. Another reason why VeilGuard failed is because the franchise was becoming irrelevant. That's true too. I mean, I had no more faith in Bethesda after that stupid robot game that I can never remember that came out. Like, it was starting to waver with the new Mass Effect game that came out just because of how bad and broken it was. And to me, there was a lot of saving graces in it. But there's a reason that all these vampires are different and have different powers. Like the Nosferatu in the vampire lore in movies is completely different, you know, character. And from my understanding, a lot of the original Nosferatu stuff also had to do with cuckoldry. So you're wrong. You're just flat out wrong here.
Vampire that, you know, if it stepped out into public, people lose their minds about. That's
yeah. Dracula constantly stepped out into public, right? The Bram Stoker's fucking Dracula looked like a normal guy. He was just never seen at night. You know, there was the I just fucking
Nosferatu. In Malkavian Nosferatu, like the game, it was completely different because, again, as a Malkavian, you're crazy. You know, you see things and you hear things that people don't hear, and that kind of gives you an advantage. But at the same time, you're batshit crazy, so that gives you a disadvantage. So you're at odds with yourself the entire game. And then you have the Nosferatu, who are absolutely hideous, and they, you know, operate underground. They, you know, live in the sewers, but that also makes them extremely intelligent. And they're very computer savvy because they have nothing else to do. So Nosferatus are known for being like hackers and stuff like that. And again, that completely changed the game and the way you played it and the way that people interacted with you, humans interacted with you, and vampires interacted with you, yada, yada, yada. I don't know a single like player from Bloodlines that doesn't enjoy playing as a Malkavian and as Nosferatu. You play as a Malkavian. Like, you want to play as a Malkavian, okay? Maybe the first time around you play as Camarilla, you play as fucking Toreador, you play as whatever. But the second time you have to play as a Malkavian because he changed the game.
She's fucking wrong. I'm pretty sure she's wrong about them in there too. Nosferatu. Dolls Nosferatu, Renaissance, Victorian area, and modern knights Nosferatus feel their organizations, like muster, culture. It's been a while since I played the game. Like, sorry, I am like, she is activating my culture, embraces Bane. Is this from Clans, Camarilla, Vampire the Masquerade? What is their disciplines? So what's the drama about? So she has been, there's been a lot of negative reception around Bloodlines 2 in the course of like the new trailer, the new gameplay demo that some people got to look at, where there's a lot of talk about it being very linear, but it doesn't feel like the original game, which we'll see, I guess, how that goes. So old Nehru here, who I like Nehru. We've talked a few times, we've joked around. Has come in and said that it's exactly like VeilGuard, right? And I don't see the stats, unfortunately. Vampire the Masquerade, Nosferatu, VM2 Wiki. Disciplines. Yeah, they talk to animals. Animalism serves as repulsive. Cryptophilia, consumed by a hunger for private secrets. Mattern, well-known information. During this, they refuse to keep up their secrets and strict trading greater than their own. They're not actively in any action, not actively working towards a secret. Example archetypes, tech specialists. So yeah, they will do tech specialist stuff. It's like a very small portion of it. They're secret keepers. They're the information police, and they'll go through anything to do it. And then they have to hide because of what they do. Private investigation, underdwelling. Like, tech specialist is just one way. You could be dumb with computers and be a fucking Nosferatu. That's just completely. I'm not even sure she's played the tabletop role playing game at this point.
Game. He changes everything for you. And then, you want the game to be hard as hell. You play as Nosferatu. Like, you play it because you know that everything is going to be harder because you cannot just waltz around because you look fucked up. Like, your face is fucked up. And the fact that the two most popular clan choices are just taken out, just like, taken out of the game, insane. And they do say that the World Darkness fits with our storytelling, our sort of mature style of storytelling. So ultimately, this Bloodlines 2 is what happens when the Chinese 2 makes a Bloodlines 2, which is just, they're making a, vampire thriller, detective game, and they're just slapping Bloodlines 2 on it.
So, like, all right, I'm so fucking tired of hearing this detectives game bullshit. Guess what? A huge portion of the tabletop RPG is investigation. Like, when you're playing Vampire the Masquerades, the whole idea is taking skills. Like, it's a very open system. You don't have a class. You pick your skills that you're available to use, and you use those skills. You can be a detective, right? That may be what this person in his head was. But just saying like it's a detective thing so it doesn't fit is completely throwing out everything that has to do with the vampire masquerades. It sounds like the only part that you actually care about is the bloodlines portion, right? And you could make another vampire. This could be a Vampire the Masquerades movie, or not movie, video game, but not fit the bloodlines idea, right? I don't think it's going to have the role-playing options that you get in Bloodlines. I feel like it's going to be, as has already been stated by Retro, a change that you felt with the original Deus Ex Machina and Deus Ex Machina Human Evolved, where it went for a more action based, like it basically got away from a lot of what the original game was and went to, all right, you're going to be doing these missions. It's a linear story. You can either stealth through it or you can fight your way through it. And then that's how you built your character. That's what I feel like it's going to be. It's not this fucking bullshit ass VeilGuard mess that's going on here. And you're completely ignoring what Vampire the Masquerade is to focus on Vampire the Masquerade's Bloodlines, as it's going to be shit because doesn't perfectly fit the mold that you have in your head, which I still can't figure out of what Bloodlines is.
Not looking forward to this. I'm not mad in the same way that I was mad about VeilGuard. I think I learned a lot of things about VeilGuard, and I learned to, manage my expectations. I think we all need to, learn to manage our expectations. But it's very disappointing because I don't know what this trend is of going down the hard path when doing sequels for games like this. And I don't know what's the obsession with just like modernizing and just taking a setting that is originally very dark, very gritty, very fucked up, and just stripping it, bare, and selling the skeleton to people, to fans of the original IP, and telling them like, hey, this is what you get now. This is it. Like, if you complain, you're a fucking bitch and you're not grateful.
No. What does she mean? Like taking a game that was very gritty and she hasn't mentioned the horror, the gritty aspect at all until this very fucking moment. And then she's saying that they're stripping it down to the bare bones. What does that fucking mean? At this point, people just want to complain about everything or say anything. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. I mean, we don't even know that it's going to, one thing that I could say you may have a problem with in the original Vampire the Masquerades is outside of some of the powers, fighting as a vampire was shit. The combat was terrible. So you didn't really only feel that strong. You had to focus on guns. Yes, guns were a really important part of that game, but in Vampire the Masquerades, the tabletop RPG, yes, guns are good to have, but guns don't kill vampires. So you could make characters that were completely close combat, and they could just absolutely obliterate people. What were the Grendels? Pyre. I haven't played this game in a long time either, and it's just like setting me off to have to go look. Which one? The gangrels. The gangrels were beasts known for close combat and stuff like that, right? The close combat mechanics in that fucking game sucked. Now you, I guess, had super powered ones where you could go fucking crazy on it, but it's not it didn't have that same feel. Well, oh, hey, what's going on? What the egg? What's on the menu? We are crashing out over Nuhre saying that Bloodlines 2 is going to be another VeilGuard when she doesn't even truly understand the RPG that she's talking about, or even what I think RPGs are at this point. So far, her thing is, she said that Mass Effect isn't an RPG. Witcher isn't an RPG. Anything that has a linear story can't possibly be an RPG. So all JRPGs are out. And that this game isn't going to be a one-to-one replica of Vampire the Masquerade's 1. So it's VeilGuard. And I just haven't seen that evidence, right, whatsoever. So I've been looking up Vampire the Masquerade stuff because I used to play it tabletop-wise. It's one of my top ones. I made a video about her. The only reason she is visible online is because she was boosted by Grums and Asmon. Yeah, and it had to do with her VeilGuard stuff. I like her in general. I think she could do something else, but she's hit this point. She's hit this point where she keeps falling back into VeilGuard, right? It was funny when she started hitting that arc where she was going after Endymion and all the anti-woke people, but now she like wants to dip her foot back into the VeilGuard that made her so popular, and then talk about try and do her other content. And I don't know if that's because she's lost some of her audience. I don't know what it is, but this isn't it. And I've also watched, I was telling other people earlier, I watched she did like a retrospective of RPGs, and being like, I'm an RPG guy, right? I don't even beat a lot of RPGs. My problem with playing video games is my ADHD cuts off at a certain point, and I'll come back to it later. But RPGs have been like one of my favorite genres since the beginning, right? My first experiences outside of, say, like Final Fantasy was some of my first experiences, and then getting into CRPGs like Fallout 1 and 2, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. It's Icewind Dale, and it's just she's talking like there's only one way it can be an RPG, and it's disheartening. It's making me crash out. Let's try and finish this. Yeah, I think RPGs give a lot of options, and like I've said before, there's a reason the rest of the gaming industry started stealing mechanics from RPGs, because RPGs were able to build audiences, and people, these companies realize that people like some form of choice, whether it's in how you build your character, whether it's in choices during the story, other things like that. So RPGs, I think, made a big impact on the gaming industry, but they also had, they were also diluted in the process. I agree with her on some of the things she said there.
Like, you should be grateful. And I'm not grateful, okay? I'm not grateful because this, just like VeilGuard did with Origins, and this is gonna do to Bloodlines, is just gonna stain.
If I hear her say fucking VeilGuards again, I am gonna lose my fucking shit.
The fucking IP is just gonna make sure that people don't even try to play the original games because they played VeilGuard, they played Bloodlines 2. It sucked ass. Like, it's not good. It's not good. It's not fun, and I don't fuck with this. I don't fuck with it. Okay.
But and here's the thing, she's like, it's not good, it's not fun. If people need to stop beating the dead corpse of VeilGuard. We understand what it was, we're past it, but since nothing else has come out that is that egregious of a option of looking at woke as a problem in gaming, they they have to keep coming up and beating that dead horse. And but remember when we talked about VeilGuard? And this is insane. She's basically putting the cart before the horse and saying that this game is bad by what a few people have said in their articles, and she's not even reading the whole article. She's picking out the stuff that fits her narrative that it's going to be bad.
I don't like it. It pisses me off. It pisses me off. This is the second time they do this. It's the second time they take a very... And I'm not even talking about you, okay? I'm talking about me. They take something that I like, something that I love, okay? They take an RPG that I really, really enjoy. And they for 10, 15, 20 years, they proceed to shit all over it, smear it, put a bow on it, and sell it to me for fucking $80.
They didn't start making the game 20 years ago. They didn't start making the sequel 20 years ago. The company went under because it did so badly. So what she's saying is the cult classic people shit all over it. Oh. Okay, that when people say I can't stand the entitlement, yeah, it's just a buzzword at this point. When did development of Bloodlines 2 start? The development of Bloodlines 2 began after it was announced in 2019. So yeah, it hasn't been 20 years that they were shitting all over it. It was 6 years ago that they started working on it. And that was the Harboring Studios. It was in development hell, which is always a red flag that the game is probably going to come out and be shit. They let go of Hardsuit Labs and then later gave it to Chinese Room in 2021. And then it's set to be released in October. Like we're probably not going to watch the gameplay video today because it's almost time. But I also believe gatekeeping is useless since people can't buy and join stuff out of free will, if communities. Yeah, well, yeah, I agree. If you want your product to grow, or if you want your hobby to grow, like I was 40K is a good example of it. I was a 40K player before 40K was cool, before everyone knew what it was. And not even as a kid, I didn't, know about it until my 20s when a buddy introduced me to it, and no one knew what the fuck it was. The only game that was out there for it was, oh God, why can't I remember the name? Like there was a couple small games that no one remembers, like the Tau one, and then there was the RTS game that came out that was super popular, and I loved and played the shit out of that game. Especially after I got into Warhammer as a whole. It was just a fucking badass game. And then then Games Workshop, that I don't even think they call themselves Games Workshop anymore, changed their project. Like they were dying. They were looking to get bought out by Hasbro of all people, which I think would have been fucking horrible. Some people liked it because they thought the models would get cheaper. I don't think Hasbro hasn't done well with the IPs that they have now. And with that, they decided to take like a gamble, and they let anyone in the gaming industry make a video game on a Warhammer video game. Hey, welcome back, Blake. And then the only stipulation that Games Workshop really held on to is that they had full say on if the story was a go forward or not. And they did that because they wanted to keep everything coherent and everything together, right? But I remember, growing up, I had a few friends that I played with. There were game shops you can go and play, but it's the typical like super nerdy game shops that you don't see women in, or you didn't see women in, right? The gamer girl and nerd girl didn't exist very well back then. And we used to hammer like gatekeepers. Like it's like any game you ever play. If anyone ever played Magic, you'd get that one guy who's like, oh yeah, I'll teach you how to play Magic, and then he just stomps your ass into the ground and doesn't really teach you anything about it. That was the kind of like gatekeeping that we always fought against. And then now here I am at 41, and you got all these dum-dums that weren't even, a cum stain in their mother's underpants when I was playing, talking about we need to gatekeep the game and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, y'all are just absolute retards. You're not even real fans at this point. So, I mean, she might like the game Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, right? I get that. She likes it, and she doesn't like it's not going to be a 1-for-1. But it could still be very close to a Vampire the Masquerade's game, which Vampire the Masquerade's players would love to be able to play, right? It's just brain dead. And her idea of I don't know what her idea of an RPG is. Like, I would like to get into a chat with her and actually break down what an RPG is, because her saying that Mass Effect is not an RPG is just complete bullshit. Now, it has weak RPG mechanics when it comes to like leveling up. The first one I think was better than the second. The second completely watered down those RPG mechanics, and I don't even remember if they existed in the third one. You don't want to get in chat with her. There's nothing between those ears. Maybe that's true. I mean, I'll get in chat and talk with anybody. Most people won't get in chat and talk with me, though, especially not anymore. But it's just, none of this makes any sense to me. None of this seems to match up with what I'm reading. It's just, the best example I can say is she's already come to the decision that this game is like VeilGuard because she heard the word linear. And now she's doing everything she can to push that narrative and, prove that the game is. I still don't think the game's going to be that good. Like, I have my doubts, we'll say, of it. And that's from some of the stuff that I've read. But then again, it might. I enjoyed Deus Ex Machina Human Evolved for what it was, though I had never played the original, right? And it didn't do, like, it wasn't a fucking flat out flop, if I remember it. I know it didn't do well. Definitely did better than, I think, Vampire the Masquerade. Oh, man. Revolution. Sales. Let's see if I can find any here. Well, I mean, it's surpassed. The original Deus Ex sold 1.1 million copies. That's pretty damn good compared to the Deus Ex series. Deus Ex Invisible War has sold 1.3 million copies. Deus Ex Mankind Divided and Human Revolution reached 12 million. What was it initially, though? Deus Ex Mankind Divided reached a 1.9 million units on Steam. This is all like 2025 statistics. I know it wasn't fully loved, but I enjoyed it. I had fun with the game. I like stealth mechanics in games, so anything that even gives me a little flavor of that, I enjoy. But there it is. I'm gonna cut those up into VODs and repost them. The first one and the second one I did on her. But other than that, it is that time, boys and girls. So I am going to be heading out tonight. If you haven't, like the stream, push me in that algo so that I can get up there. I am at 79 subs currently. So, bring in more people, tell your friends. Let's get me up to 100. That's my next goal that I'd like to get to. And as always, if you have anything you want me to watch, down in the link below is my Discord. Yeah, you got to get those grift bucks, Kimoji. Grift. But down in my Discord, we have a section called Feed the Pig. That's where you can feed me content that I will watch on the stream, especially if I find something interesting that hits my ADHD hyperfocus. So again, thank you everyone for coming out and watching the show. We will see you next time on Monday. Monday, same time, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. All right, guys. Talk to you later.